I gave a talk that last fall at the California Assisted Living Association where I talked about some of my experiences that I've had gone and toured buildings. And so I always think that we tend to learn a lot more from bad things that happen than from great things that happen. And so I spent a lot of time talking about some of these terrible things. And I made a bunch of enemies, and I ended up in the doghouse. I had people totally engaged, and they just creamed me on the speaker ratings because they were so mad at what I had to say. Fortunately, I'm not going to do very much talking today. My friend Dennis is going to do most of the talking, so I probably won't end up in the doghouse. I'm going to get this button right. Some of you have heard me speak. Some of you know my story. I wear these tennis shoes because they were given to me by a bunch of junior high and high school kids because I was making a difference in their lives. I want to just tell you one story. The kid there on the far left, his name is and I want to tell you, he's now mid-30s working on a PhD in mathematics in Canada. And I was in Turkey a few weeks ago. And I was at the dedication of a church. It was just sort of a happenstance kind of thing. And I was standing there and I'd introduced myself. And this guy who's in the middle, he came running up to me and he said, "Hey, did you used to live in Southern California?" And as soon as he asked me that question, I said, "Oh, you're Stefan's dad, right?" He said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "I am so excited to see you here. You do not have any idea how you changed my son's life when he was a teenager and what an impact you have." And so I write a blog. I make money off a blog. But at the end of the day, the thing that means most to me is when somebody comes to me and says, "You're helping my organization get better." And that's really our goal, and that's really the goal of this session today. And so Dennis is actually going to talk about doing drama-free teams, but ultimately I think the question that we need to ask ourselves, I think the thing that will come in the session are really these questions, is would you want to come to work here at your organization every day, and would you want to live here for the rest of your life? So Dennis, you're up.
Do dogs like bones? Would we say yes, dogs like bones? I used to be a believer that dogs like bones. So I have got a border collie. Her name is Allie. And I brought Allie in a little while back ago, and I brought her into the kitchen. I said, "Allie, come. And I said, sit. And she sat, and her tail's wagging. And I went to one part of the kitchen there, and I grabbed a bone. And I put it on one part of the kitchen, one end of the kitchen. Now Allie's tail is wagging. She's going crazy. I said, sit. And then I went into my refrigerator and I pulled out a steak. And I went to the other end of the kitchen and I laid down the steak, and Allie's tail's wagging. And I says, "Okay, Allie, get ready, go." Where do you think Allie went? To the steak. So I'm going to propose to you today that dogs truly like steak, but they settle for bones. And I want to encourage you today to not settle. Because sometimes when we're working in healthcare, we're working in assisted living, we just end up starting to settle. And we just say things like, "Well, that's just how it is." Well, of course we have drama. Well, that's just how it is. Well, you're just supposed to. That's just, and I want to encourage you that, listen, it is possible to have a high trust, high performance organization that is completely drama-free. I've got a client that runs a facility in Des Moines, Iowa, that developed the GPS coaching framework, eliminated 90% of the drama in her team. And so I want to talk to you today and give you a couple ideas about what you can do and practical things that you can do to totally eliminate the drama. And I just want to encourage that, listen, I understand where you're at. You're dealing with the negative Nancys, right? That just always come to work and just always complain. And you're dealing with toxic Tina, that works in housekeeping. And she just spreads gossip and rumors, and you end up living with that, and if you're not careful, you end up settling. And I just want to encourage you, listen, you don't have to settle. So would we all agree that it's all about results and great outcomes for residents and families, right? We would agree with that? Well, here is the hidden barrier, okay, that I see many times that stops a lot of our results. And I draw it in a triangle because I think of it like as the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, so what happens in the Bermuda Triangle? Right? Planes go in and we lose them forever. Ships go in and we lose them forever. What I see sometimes is that people go into this drama triangle, and we lose them forever. They're just lost there. So there's kind of three parts to it that I just want to share with you and give you maybe just a couple strategies today about what you can do to totally eliminate some of the drama. So one part that happens is that people choose to become the victim. Well, there's just nothing we can do about it. Well, we can only pay so much for CNAs. Well, this is just how it is. Well, listen, we're not dealing with accountants here. We're not dealing with a group of lawyers. Okay? And we become the victim. Or, just as bad, is we become a blamer. Well, if so-and-so would have just sent me that email. Well, if my boss would have just did this and this. Well, if my husband would have just done this and this. And we end up blaming. And are we productive when we're in that mode? Yes or no? Am I talking to the right group? How many people never raise your hand no matter what a speaker says? Right? Yeah, exactly. I know exactly how it is, okay? Yeah. I've been there right where you are, okay? And the other part, just as bad, and I see this a lot in healthcare, is that we end up rescuing. We come in to save the day. We become the problem solvers. You got a problem, I got an answer. I'm going to tell you what to do. And the problem is that when we do this, we create a lot of victims. Now, here is a truism that I believe and I hope you will adopt. I believe that we tend to teach what we know, but we produce who we are. See, the best way to really know me is to come and meet my kids. I was amazed. I did this event in Oregon last year, and I brought my oldest son with me. And typically after an event and after a talk, a lot of people want to talk to me. At that event, nobody wanted to talk to me. My son Andrew was back working the product table. Everybody wanted to talk to Andrew. And I figured out that, people wanted to figure out, boy, is this guy McIntee, is he really for real? See, because I teach my kids what I know, but at the end of the day, I produce who I am. And it's true in your organization. I'm going to propose to you. Now, please hold your anger, because I'm going to make you a little even angrier a little bit later, okay? So just hold some of that anger. But I'm going to propose to you that if you have drama in your teams, anywhere in your organization, that you first have to look at you. And what have you done to perpetuate the drama? Now, here's what's interesting, okay, is that you can actually play all three roles all at the same time. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but something happens, something negative. Why does this always happen to me? Why do they never call it, why do they always come in late? Well, if so-and-so if they would have just sent the email, it would have got, now I got to step in and do it all myself. And in one swoop, I have played all three roles. And am I productive in that role or unproductive? Unproductive. How many people never respond no matter what I say? Got it. So here's the equation, okay? It's your events plus your response that equals the outcome. Now, people that are full of drama, this is what they believe. They believe my events equal my outcome. They have choice poverty. There's nothing we can do. And when people fall into this drama triangle, they believe there's nothing they can do. My daughter just got her first job at Chick-fil-A. We have Chick-fil-A out here in the West Coast, right? Okay, anybody ever been to a Chick-fil-A? Okay, all right, a couple of us. I love Chick-fil-A. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I sat in Truett Cathy's chair. I was down meeting Bubba at Chick-fil-A headquarters, and I sat in Truett Cathy's chair. It was one of the greatest experiences. But my daughter, she got her first job at Chick-fil-A. And so a couple weeks ago, she came in, and she said, Dad, I have to go to work. I have to go to work. I said, babe, come here, let's talk. We got to talk. I said, listen, sit down. Give me 5 minutes. Oh, I have to go to work. I says, listen, Melissa, you do not have to go to work. She went, really? I said, no. Babe, you don't have to go to work. In fact, listen, you never have to go to work, ever again. She goes, really? Nope, not at all. I says, no, Melissa, they're probably not going to pay you anymore. Melissa, you're probably not going to have a job anymore. But the reality is that you go into that drama land when you believe you have to, when you believe you have no choice. Now, your assignment as leaders is to help people take choice back. Your assignment as leaders is to help people see they have all of the choices in the world. You know, sometimes we say things like, well, that's what my boss says I have to. Let's stop and say, wait a minute, stop, you don't have to. No, my boss says I have to. No, not at all, you don't have to. Now, you probably won't work here anymore if you don't. But the reality is you don't have to. Your choice abundant. And when we can help people see that they have a multitude of choices, they start to take ownership. And ownership is the most powerful motivator in a business. Ownership is the most powerful motivator in your community. When you have CNAs, like I've got a client in St. Louis, Missouri, where CNAs show up and they go, you know what, this is my facility. It's my facility. This is my community. Listen, that's a game changer. People that you're paying $9, $10 an hour, and they show up and they say, no, this is my facility. Holy cow, we're talking game changer. And results and outcomes for residents and family, they go through the roof. But here's the truth, is that people typically respond according to how they're led. So that means, remember, events plus my response equals the outcome, which means for some of us, we have to stop blaming our employees. See, I told you it's going to get rough. Listen, Steve will come back up and fix everything I say, okay? All right? So here's the deal. If you do not like this presentation, go to www.stevemoran.com and really lay it on them, okay? If you love this presentation, go to www.dennismcintee.com and just tell me how great it is, okay? Just so you know. And if you have any questions, how we'll do it is that Steve will answer all the hard questions and I'll answer all the easy questions, okay? But the truth is that if you're blaming your employees, you got to stop. Because listen, there's something that you're doing. There's something that you're doing. So let's do a game. Let me show you kind of how this works here a little bit. You guys want to do some mind control? How many people here believe that I can control your mind? Anybody here believe I can control your mind? Okay, so we're gonna do this. I'm gonna jump off the stage real quick. I know I'm gonna freak out the video guys, but just work with me, okay? Because I cannot see in the light. So we're gonna do some mind control. You guys ready? So you do what you do to guard your mind, okay? Whatever that thing is, and I'm gonna do it. Okay, so get ready. Just takes me a minute. Just give me a minute here. Oh, before I do that, because this is only like my second time in Northern California, and I really enjoy this place, and I had a great piece of pork chop last night for dinner. But what did people have for dinner? So just turn to the person next to you and at your table and just share with them for 1 minute. What did you guys have for dinner? So just a little open honesty, a little transparency for a minute. What everybody have for dinner? Just share what you had for dinner. Because I know we're getting ready for dinner coming up, right? Getting ready for dinner. Gosh, some of you must have had like a 10-course meal the way you're talking. Golly. Okay. Here's my question. The question is, how many people here 10 minutes ago were thinking about dinner last night? But what did I do? What did I do? I controlled your mind. I controlled your mind. How did I control your mind? Suggestions? Not quite. I'm looking for a particular word. Ask the questions. The person that asks the question controls the conversation. The person that asks the question controls the conversation. And if you're not careful, what happens many times with leaders is we end up solving problems. So guess what? All of our employees come with problems, right? We have all of the answers, so all they ever have are questions, right? And we end up with these adult-to-child conversations. Do you ever feel like that? It's like where you're just talking to kids. I say, stop the madness. Stop the madness. And it starts with us. It starts with you. Because if you keep giving answers, they will keep having questions. If you keep telling them what to do, they will keep coming to you. And they won't think for themselves. And our goal is to help people think for themselves, help grow people up. I mean, I love the industry that we're in. We get to change not only residents' lives, but wow, I can't even count how many CNA's lives have been changed. just by getting the drama out and taking more ownership. I mean, you have a great assignment. You have a great responsibility. So questions go down and answers go up. As a leader, questions go down and answers go up. So anybody here want better results? 4 of us. 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so hey, thanks for the rest of y'all for coming. All right, I really appreciate that. I'm going to talk to this group over here. Is that okay? All right, no, but come on. I mean, we all want results. Well, our results are based on our actions. That's it, behavior. In my past life, I did marriage and family therapy. I've got an MDiv, and what I realized is that everything I did in marriage and family therapy, golly, it works in business too because it's all behavioral based. All the problems that you have are with people's actions, right? Your actions produce your results. But here's the funny thing about actions is that actions are produced by feelings. You think, then you feel, then you act. I mean, you even think about this. Look at that word right here, emotion. It's where all your emotion comes from. It's where all your emotion comes from. You think about any major change in your life, didn't it always happen when you just got really sick and tired and got a little mad? Yeah? It's like, I used to weigh about 60 pounds heavier. And there was one day, I remember I was in Dallas, Texas. I was doing a workshop, and I remember getting out of the shower, and I looked at myself. And I just got some awareness. And I didn't use a softener. I didn't say like, well, Dennis, you're a little chubby. Dennis, you're just a little overweight. I looked at myself, and I said, Dennis, you're fat. You're fat as Texas, buddy. Come on. And then I realized that, listen, my weight was just a result of my actions. I have figured out how to gain weight. 3 bowls of ice cream every night, it does it. I can help you gain weight, I know how. I am an expert at it. And I realized that if I want a different result, I got to change in action. And then listen, I stopped having all the drama because I used to blame it on my wife. I did. I mean, we have 3 kids, 23, 19, 17, and 15. And there was a time where I felt like we were all, and notice, ladies, I say we were pregnant, right? My wife was in a meeting and I said, we were pregnant. And afterwards she goes, Dennis, who's the we in pregnant? So, but I'll use it. She said, we were pregnant, and it's like she would eat. And guys, when your wife eats and she's pregnant, what do you guys do? Eat with her, man, because we're in covenant. We're in covenant. We're together. We're going to eat, and we're going to have this baby. And so she would eat, and I would eat. And if you ever get a chance to meet my wife, it's like after like 2 or 3 weeks after she gave birth, she's like, whew. And she is like the prettiest lady in America. She's the most beautiful woman ever. And like she would just, and it just frustrated me because it's like, boom. And then we did it again like 18 months later. And she would eat, I would eat, she would give birth, and like, whew. And all of a sudden, go back. And me, I just go, boo. And I realized, like, I just didn't have a chance to have a baby. And I just blamed it, on my wife. And until I realized I never ate a donut accidentally. Never. It's like I saw the donut, coveted the donut, lusted after the donut, had 15 donuts. But listen, I used to play the victim. I used to play the blamer. And my wife would come in and rescue me and say, oh, it's not that bad, baby. Until I just step back and go, you know what? I got to change some actions. But many times, let's just take weight for a minute, okay? But many times it's like, it's an emotional-based thing. I was an emotional eater. And so your results are based on your actions, which is based on your feelings. The problem is that it happens like this, right? Happens like this. Have you ever made an action or said something like out of emotion that you like want to bring it back, right? Yeah, absolutely. I think we all have. So here's what I like in emotion too. When your team members are in emotion, when you are in emotion, it's like a drug. You are on drugs. And where emotion comes from is it comes from back here in the brainstem. Okay? And what you want to do is you want to figure out how to snap people from here to here. From here to here, to the frontal cortex. To snap them to logic. And how would you do that? Mind control. Mind control. And many times, our results are based on the questions we ask. Our results are based on the questions we ask. And if you're not happy with your results, because listen, remember, who's in charge? You are. You are ridiculously in charge. And you have in your culture whatever you permit. You cannot play the ostrich. You just can't go to your office and stick your head in the sand and just hope it's going to be okay. Because the truth is that the culture you create determines the results you produce. That's it. If you have drama in your culture, you won't produce great outcomes. But if you can create a responsibility, ownership-based culture that's high trust, it's limitless. It's completely limitless. Yeah, I was in Des Moines a couple weeks ago, and I remember getting off the plane and got my rental car, and I was driving to the facility there, and I looked around, and I got a little frustrated. You know why I got frustrated? Because I looked and I said, man, ain't no oranges here in Iowa. Ain't no orange trees. I'm from Greenville. Can I say ain't? I guess I just did, and I got the pen, so I'll do it anyways. I said, there ain't no oranges here. Now, I was raised in Sarasota, Florida, just near the Tropicana plant there. And so I remember playing in the grapefruit groves and the orange groves. And now here's the question. Why are there no orange trees in Iowa? Help me out. Climate, right? Oh, but wait a minute. What if I brought some orange seeds to Iowa? I got it. I'm bringing me some orange seeds to Iowa. Me some orange seeds and grow some orange trees. Will I ever grow orange trees? Never. Watch this. You can have the seeds of a great organization. You can have a great marketing plan. You can have an amazing building, an amazing community. But if you don't create the right culture, nothing will grow. The culture that you create determines what grows. And as leaders, that's our chief responsibility. As leaders, that's our chief responsibility. And so if you have drama in your culture, stop playing the victim. Stop playing the blame game. Stop rescuing your team. You got to change some questions. So I want to give you one question that probably everybody in this room says that produces 90% of the drama. Do you want to know what it is? Who wants to know what it is? Okay, about half of us. I'm glad the rest of you are here. Thank you for coming. I know you're just waiting for dinner, okay? I got it, all right? This is just pre-dinner. I got it. Okay, so here is the question. So I was working with a community up in New Hampshire, and Henry came storming into his office, and I was there for the day doing some training. Henry came in, and he was beet red, and he said, "That's why do my department heads always do this? They always do this. Why do they do that? You got to tell me why." And he just fired up. You got to tell me why. And I said, Henry, you do not want to know why. Well, I do want to know why. I want to know right now. And I hired you. You better tell me why right now. I said, Henry, trust me, you don't want to know why. He said, I do. And I couldn't convince him. And I said, okay, Henry, we're going to find out why. Since you want to know why, let's find out why. I said, this is what I need you to do. I need you to cut me a check for $1,000. I'm going to take this check and I'm going to go to the furniture store and I'm going to buy a nice leather couch. We're going to set this leather couch right here in your office. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bring that employee in every day, about once a week, and you're just going to interview him. Just going to lay on the couch, do some psychotherapy. We're going to interview him. And I said, Henry, it's going to take us about a year probably. And at the end of that year, you're probably going to find out that, when he was 5 years old, his dad was very distant and his dad beat him when he did something wrong. And he looks at you as his dad figure. And so he never wants to share things that happen that maybe is going to make you mad. So he's always going to hide it. And so that's why he's really fearful of you. And I says, Henry, do you really want to know why? Or do you just want the behavior changed? What would you guys say? You just want the behavior change, right? It's unless you want to go into psychotherapy, I don't think this is the right group for that, right? We just want to serve residents. We just want to help families. We just want to bless people, right? Do you ever feel man, it's I got into this to just serve people and make a difference, and it's holy cow, look at everything I got to do? Yeah? And so my encouragement is stop asking why. Because what's the thing when I say, can we play a game, Scott? I guess it doesn't matter because I just called you out. For you to say no, everybody go, well, why not? Right?
You changed my behavior.
Exactly. That's what Steve told me, so he said, call you out. So that's why we're doing it. No, I'm teasing. So, Scott, if I say, why did you do that? What's your initial reaction to me?
I don't know.
I don't know, or defensive. It's like, I'll tell you, McIntee, it's because you're this and this and this, right? And what happens is for people to be the most effective, you have to lead them according to how their brains work. You have to lead them according to how their brains work. And here's the two questions, well, really it's the one question, that people ask when they enter into a relationship, into a room. In fact, when you came to this event, you asked yourself this question. When you came into this door, you probably asked yourself this question. Here was the question. You walk into any situation and you go, safe or unsafe? Safe or unsafe? Safe or unsafe? It's why maybe you gravitated towards a table where you knew somebody, right? It's like you walked around and you're like, who do I know here, right? Who's like me? Who's doing the same thing I'm doing? That's the two things you ask, safe or unsafe. And our job as leaders is to create these environments where people feel safe. Because when they feel safe, they are productive. But when they feel fear, they're going to want to fight, which means get defensive, right? Make excuses. Are you guys tired of the excuses? One of us. I am. Like, I just got sick and tired of the excuses. I'm going to give you, oh man, we got good time. You guys are listening really fast, so way to go. We're getting a lot done. Okay, so thank you. You guys are awesome. Okay, so at the end of the talk, I'm going to give you the one thing you can do to eliminate all of the excuses. There is one thing that you can do that will eliminate all of the excuses, and it's fascinating. Okay, so people are asking themselves, safe or unsafe. So when they feel it's unsafe, they're going to fight you, which means they're going to be defensive, or they're going to flight. They're going to try to hide, or get away, or they're just going to freeze up. And when you feel unsafe, you're not productive. See, I don't know about you, but it's like I want to work with. It's like I have this dream of working with an organization that like we all show up, and we all show up as adults, not some kids, some adults. We're all adults. And then where we all want to produce great outcomes. That's the kind of team I want to work with. That's the kind of group I want to be a part of. Is that the kind of group you want to be a part of? It is. So my first encouragement is stop asking why. Now, I already know some of you want to fight me on it. And we can fist fight out there later. I would love to. Okay? Because here's the deal. Typically, when you ask why, you go into problem-solving mode. And I'm going to tell you, teach people to solve their own problems. Teach people to solve their own problems. So when they come with a question, here's the question that I have for them. Wow, so what do you want to do about that problem you have? Something happens. What do you want to do about that problem? Because here's what you have to believe. To be able to have a drama-free culture, you have to believe in the good of people, okay? You have to believe there's gold inside of that person. Now, do you know what the golden rule is? Have you know what the golden rule is? Somebody say it? Do unto others. It's a golden rule I do believe in, but there's another golden rule that I believe in. Here's what it's called. Here's how you say it, is that I believe there is gold inside of every person. There is gold inside of every person. And if you don't believe that, please get out of leadership. Because we've got to show up and believe there's gold inside of everybody. Now listen, when a miner goes in to look for gold, does he worry about the dirt? How much dirt does he have to remove? A lot. And sometimes a lot just to find like a little bit of gold, right? It's the same thing working with people. Is that you always find what you focus on. You always find what you focus on. Now with some people, it's just like mining for gold. With some people, it's all gold and just a little bit of dusting. With other people, it's all this dirt, maybe just a little speck, but it's there. And you've got to call it, and it's like, if you believe they're children, then they'll just continue to act like children. And it starts with us. As leaders, we go first. We show up and we expect people to do great. Now, sometimes people don't do great, right? Sometimes they don't do it, but we don't step in and rescue them. Because if you rescue them, Scott, if you come and you always have the answer, this is what I'm really saying. Is if I give you the answer, this is what I'm really saying. I'm saying, oh, Poor Scott. Scott doesn't know what to do. Everybody, poor Scott. He doesn't know what to do. Thanks for playing my game. Get a free buck at the end. Okay, fair enough. And really, we perpetuate this victimhood. But if you can start to change the question and change the culture, here's what's great. That culture will actually push people out. So in Indianapolis, Indiana, they go through CNAs like the first couple weeks very quickly, but this is why. Because CNAs, they show up and they go, oh yeah, this is not the right place for me. You know why? Because they demand a culture of ownership. And it doesn't come from the executive director. Listen, it doesn't even come from the DON. You know who it comes from? It comes from the other CNAs. And they show up and go, hey, we don't play the victim. This is your job. And the culture pushes them out. Because watch this. Those CNAs go, this is our building. And heck no drama in our building. We're not playing that game. So you can create, I just want to encourage you, you can create this culture, but you have to change the questions. Because the questions you ask determine the results you get. So stop asking why. So now I probably just left you like with a bunch of questions, right? Because you're like, well, what do I ask, right? And here's the thing, some of you go, well, I ask why all the time. That's like my standard go-to question. So let me give you a couple different questions to ask. Would that be okay? Would that be helpful? Because listen, he who asks the questions controls the conversation. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. Now, have you ever, when you ask a question, have you ever gotten a question in response? Has that ever happened? And then you answered the question? Bad leader. Bad. So my wife, now I have 4 kids and they're awesome. And my 19-year-old is a master at this. So he came in a couple weeks ago. My wife and I were sitting on the couch. It was a Saturday morning. He had just come back from college. And so, anybody here have college-age kids? Okay, we need to talk because I need some therapy. Okay, it's my first one in college. Holy cow. So he came back from college, or he came back from Saturday morning. He was at a friend's house Friday night. My wife and I were sitting on the couch, and I knew that she wanted Stephen to mow the lawn. And so she said, Stephen, are you going to mow the lawn today? And Stephen immediately answered her with a question. And you know what my wife did? She answered that question. Stephen immediately right after that asked another question. My wife answered it. And it was like Stephen led my wife like a lamb to the slaughter. It runs like this right around. And within 10 minutes later, he had grabbed his soccer bag and he was going to the field to play soccer. And after he left, I said, Lisa, I thought you wanted him to clean his room. She said, oh, he got me. He sure did. Because listen, when you ask a question as a leader, guess what you need to get? An answer to that question. An answer to that question. Because listen, it's a subtle way of taking control. And listen, you're the leader. So questions go down, answers go up. Which means you need to be the biggest question asker. Because remember, my questions determine my thoughts. So you remember how I did mind control with you guys today? I want you to go back to your communities and go do mind control. Just walk around doing mind control. Controlling people's minds, absolutely. Because if you can change how they think, you'll change how they act. But you won't do it by telling them. Because self-discovery is the most powerful way to learn. And just because you say it doesn't mean they hear it. Just because you say it doesn't mean they hear it. So here, let me give you 2 questions I'd love for you to go back and work on. They start with what or how plus an action. Remember E plus R equals O? Remember that? E plus R equals O. With E plus R equals O, what's the only thing in this equation I can control? My response, that's it. I can't control the event. I can't control the weather. Heck, I can't even control my dog goes to the bathroom inside or outside lately. You know, so if I can't do that, how can I think I can control other people? I can't control the economy. Watch this. I can't control what my boss does, what my boss doesn't do. I can't control any of that. I can't control if people don't call in, they do call in. People no-show. I can't control any of that. I can't control what residents do, what families do. Can't control any of that. If I try to control this and worry about this, I go to drama. I immediately go to drama and I'm not effective. I've got to step back and go, the only thing I can control is my response. And I have to believe that my outcomes are dictated by my response. Because you have a part to play in everything. Many times people minimize their own responsibility. So my son, my 23-year-old, got into a car wreck, got into a fender bender, and he didn't hit anybody. Somebody hit him from behind. And he called me. He was mad. He said, Dad, it's this guy's fault. I go, well, hold on a minute, Landry. Let's talk for a minute. I know you. You're my son. I know you probably left 5 minutes late. I know you were probably going about 15 miles over the speed limit. I know you probably ran 1 or 2 yellow lights to actually get. I said, if you would have just left 5 minutes earlier, you wouldn't have been at that exact place for that person to do that. He's like, Dad. But great leaders assume great responsibility. Winston Churchill said, the price of greatness is the acceptance of responsibility. My weight changed when I took responsibility for it. And I want to encourage you, don't blame your employees. Take responsibility for it. Own it. If it's there, be honest. Don't play the ostrich. And set about a process to change it. Because listen, you are ridiculously in charge of you. You are ridiculously in charge. You can do anything. You can do everything. You have choice abundant. So here's 2 questions. Something happens. So instead of saying, why does this happen? Oh, Dennis, why do you always stick your foot in your mouth? Dennis, why do you always think you can do more? Dennis, why do you always overpromise and you think there's more? Dennis, why do you always think people can do more and they're better than what they really are? Where does that send me? Poor Dennis. Dennis is the victim. I go straight to drama. Something happens. What can I do to fix it? How can I make it better? What could I do to improve? How can I fix this issue? What's one thing I could do to make a difference in this situation? Do you see how it changes the mentality? You see how that works? It's like you ask yourself why, straight to drama, straight to victimhood, instead of stepping back and asking yourself a better question. I'm going to challenge you tonight that your results are based on your questions. And if you have drama in your team, it's probably because you have bad questions. If you have results, if you don't like your results, then it's time to change the questions. So how many people here ever make excuses? Everyone here ever make excuses? Okay, I'm in the right group. This is just personal therapy for me. I appreciate you listening in. So I think everybody here, does everybody here have a favorite excuse? Just talk amongst your table for a minute. What's your favorite excuse? What's the excuse that you tend to use? So just talk for 1 minute and just tell the table what your favorite excuse is. Okay, good. This table right here, what's favorite excuse? Not enough time. That's a great one. You guys, what'd you guys come up with? Same one. What about that table?
I said traffic.
Oh, it's always the traffic. Steve? I forgot. This is an awesome one. I love it. What's this table right here?
Too busy.
Too busy. That's a classic one. Back there in the back?
Swamp.
What's that?
Swamp.
I'm just swamped. I'm just swamped. Perfect. What about this table right here?
Not enough time.
Not enough time. That table in the back? Time. Some people say, well, I have kids. Other people say, well, it's because I don't have kids. Well, it's because my husband does this or whatever. Here's my favorite one. Here's my favorite one that, man, when I play this excuse, it's like it's a trump card. My wife asks me these things, to do things, certain actions, and holy cow, man, I just pull it in the back of my, and man, I can go to drama and not do anything. Here's what it is. I just travel too much. I just travel too much. Dennis, why is your office a mess? Oh, I just travel too much. Dennis, why is the garage a mess? Oh, I just travel too much. Dennis, why have those reports not, why have you, this is a classic one. Dennis, why have you not done the FAFSA? Anybody here ever done a FAFSA? That's like going to hell, okay? That's all okay, if you ever done, it's like, oh, I just travel too much. It's my favorite excuse. So, Here's the excuse-busting question. Okay? Here is the excuse-busting question. Now, asking this produces action with you and with your team. So here it is. Even though favorite excuse, whatever that is, they come to you and say, I just don't have enough time. Okay, so I got it. Even though you don't have enough time, how can you still take the action? When will you get it done? Even though, when will you take the action? Now here's what's great about this question, is you're not being real flippant with people and say, well, just get it done. But when you ask this kind of question, you're like, okay, I got it, you're really busy. Even though you're busy, how can you still? It validates them as a person. But they still got to get it done, right? We still have to get results. We still have to produce results. Even though, favorite excuse, how can I still? So give me some feedback. We're getting ready to close here. What's one good takeaway from today, from this talk? So just talk amongst your takeaway real quick. What's one good takeaway? So what about this table? What's one good takeaway? Okay, hold on a minute. Give me a minute. Great. Ask effective questions. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. What about this right here? Stop asking why. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, over there. Back there in the back, guys. What did you guys come up with? Questions. Okay. That table right there.
What do you think the important thing is?
What do you think the important thing is? Oh, what do I think it is? You're just taking control. I'm going to come give you the marker. About this table right here.
Oh, we just talked about not control, being able to control the response, not controlling the event.
Absolutely, because here's what happens. When you try to control the event, you end up in frustration, anger, and the reality is you're not effective in that place, and the reality is you can't do anything about it. See, you say things like, it should. It shouldn't be this way. Listen, when people say should, it's classic drama. Because the reality is that it is. It is. It should or shouldn't, I can't fix that. Well, you know, they shouldn't behave this way. And I'm in drama. Instead of stepping back and going, okay, what can I do? Because listen, every action produces a result. So if you're not happy with your result, you just got to produce another action. So there's a regional director that, you know, I was totally in drama with this guy. Like I would email him, no response, email him, no response, email him, no response, email him, no response. And I was just mad, I was blaming, I was complaining to my wife. And then I thought, Dennis, you're an idiot. This is what happens, Dennis. You email, no response. What makes me think I'm going to email another time and get a response? I thought, I need a different strategy. So I thought, fine, I got a strategy. So I sent him another email, and in the CC, I put the owner of the entire company on the CC. He called me back in 10 minutes. It was awesome. I was like, good strategy. Now, I'm not saying you do that all the time, because sometimes that is very full of drama and shouldn't be doing that, but different strategies. What about you guys over there?
Produce what you are.
Produce what you are. Did you guys tell me what your big takeaway was already? Ask great questions. The price for this admission is this document. I would love for you, Steve would love for you guys to fill this out for us and give us some feedback. Now, since you are ridiculously in charge, you can choose not to, totally in charge. But if you do that, I will send you a free audio program. It's 2 audio products called People Smart, where I talk about how to know why people do what they do. I cover the 8 drivers of motivation that'll help you understand why people do what you do. So I would love for you to turn this into us. And one other thing, as my gift, listen, I just want to say thank you, first of all. I have realized that, you know, you don't get into this business necessarily to think like, man, we're going to make millions and millions. We get into this business to serve people, to serve residents and to serve families, and it really is a thankless job, what you do. And I've decided to dedicate my life to serve people exactly like you. So if nobody has ever told you or hasn't told you thank you for a while, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for serving people. Thank you for serving teams. Thank you for serving residents. Thank you for caring. And as my gift to you, I'd just like to give you a copy of my latest book, The 8 Qualities of Drama-Free Teams. It covers a lot of the things that I talked about today. I was in San Francisco on Friday, and they bought so many copies that this is all I have left. But if I don't have enough for this group right here, just give me your business card, and I will absolutely put one in the mail to you. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for serving people. Thank you for serving residents. Thank you for serving families.